Hello everyone, welcome back to Easy Education London, and this is the GCSE English Language Results Snapshot from 2024. Now this is for the AQA exam board, and what I wanted to do is to go over the grade boundaries and also provide you with information in regards to the questions from questions 1 all the way up to questions 5, and also the stats in terms of students' performance. And it's something quite important and something that you may need in preparation for your exam. So let's have a look at it in further detail. Now, starting off with grade boundaries for English language, the maximum mark possible or available is 160 marks. Okay. Now, if we take the most recent grade boundaries for 2023, so I'm just going to use a highlighter. For a grade 9, you needed 120 marks. For a grade 8, 110 marks. For a grade 7, 101 marks. For a grade 6, 90 marks. Grade 5, 80 marks. And grade 4, 70 marks. So if we just do some simple calculations, we can kind of work out how many marks you need in each paper. So we know each paper is out of 80. So for a 9, per paper, you are looking at, we just literally half it. So you're looking at half of 120, 60. For grade 8, you're looking at 55. Okay. For grade 7, you're looking at around 50. Grade 6, 45. Grade 5, 40 marks. And a grade 4, 35. Okay, so that's each paper. Okay, so this is for AQA. So as you can see, 60 out of 80 for paper 1 and 60 out of 80 for paper 2 would roughly get you a grade 9. Okay, grade 8, 55 out of 80 for paper 1, 55 out of 80 for paper 2. So by the way, this is just from the most recent exam series for AQA, etc. So you can kind of use this as a guideline in terms of your marks and what you think you got. Okay. Now, clearly, to get grade 5, you need 40. Okay, exactly 50%, and it's something for you to know. Now, what are the grade boundaries going to be like this year in 2024? The honest answer is, we have to wait for paper 2 before we can actually look at it. Could be slightly higher, could be slightly lower. So it's all dependent, and we will see how everything plays out. So that's your grade boundaries. Now moving on. So as you can see, this is in fact the paper 1 insight. I know paper 1 has already been sat, but you'll see the average mean marks for each question. So if I just highlight for question 1, you know the maximum was 4, the student average was 3.93. So most students did quite well. Question 2, we know it's the language question, analyzing language. The maximum mark, 8 marks. The student average, 2.99. Okay, so basically 3 out of 8 was the average for this question. Question 3, the structure question, maximum marks available, 8. And the student average was 2.38. So what does this tell us? Students struggle with structure in comparison to language. So that's something for you to remember. And then question number 4, the evaluation question that you all completed last Thursday, it's out of 20. And look at the average, it's 6.20. And to those of you who I teach, you'd know how I go on and on and on about the evaluation. It's super important, it's essential that you work on this question. And question 5, your creative writing, writing a narrative, writing a description. What was the average? Okay, so by the way, part A is your 24 marks, your AO5, and part B or 5B is your AO6. So the average for AO5 was 10.75. So that's basically 10.75 out of 24. And for AO6, it was 7.62 out of 16. So this is something for you to be aware of, and it clearly shows you the pattern and the trends. What can we establish from this or from the data provided by the exam board? And it's something for us to look at in further detail. Now, question 1, we know all students get right. That's completely fine. Question 2, the average was 3 out of 8. Question 3, the average was 2.3 out of 8, right? Now, the truth is, most students struggle with structure, okay? Structure they struggle with, and also evaluation, because the average was 6.20. So this is something for you to consider and remember for your exam. So that's paper 1. Now, let's have a look at paper 2, which is fast approaching, on Thursday, the 6th of June, 2024. What we have in front of us here is the average performance by question, or mean marks, for paper 2. Now, for question 1, the maximum marks available was 4, and the student average or mean mark was 3.68. Question 2, the maximum marks 8, student average was 3.09. So that's the summary question, by the way. So when you're summarizing source A and source B. Question 3 is the language analysis question. Look at the stats, look at the data. It was poorly answered because out of a maximum mark of 12, the student average was 4.27. Okay, so what does this tell us? That many students did struggle with this question, okay, analyzing language. And then question 4, for English language paper 2, which you will be sitting very soon, the maximum marks available was 16, and the average, student average, wow, was 5.45. Look at that. That is surprising. Okay, so what does this tell us? You all need to practice. Okay, you all need to practice your question for comparisons. Okay, so when you're comparing writers' perspectives and viewpoints, and it's 16 marks, so that's definitely an area for you to work on. And then finally, question 5. The reason is split into 5A and 5B, just for your information. 5A represents AO5, 5B represents AO6. Now, AO5 is out of 24 marks, the average being 9.96. So that's less than 50%, okay? So students clearly struggled with this, with AO5, okay, for question 5. Not only that, AO6, out of a total 16 marks, right? The average was less than 50%. So that's your spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So be cautious with your SPAG. I say this to all my students. Make sure you double check your answers, accurate spelling, use a variety of punctuation and grammar. Super important. And if you see here, you have the average, the student average, which is 6.87 out of a possible 16 marks, okay? So these are some things for you to remember, and just some trends and patterns for you to know for your exams, okay? It's always important you have this information before we go over it in further detail. Right, so moving on. Now here we have the question 1 from the English language paper 2. So you would be provided with a range of statements, and all you do, okay, is you choose 4 statements below which are true. So sometimes what the exam board do is they'll have 1 or 2 statements that are almost identical or similar. So just be wary of that, be cautious, because they'd like to trick students. Now, let's have a look at the information. What have they suggested, or what have they stated? The percentage of students achieving the full marks rose to 75%, okay? So 75%. Now, students who scored full marks were able to identify the information accurately. They made effective inferences regarding the narrator's experience and were able to track the information in the 8 statements chronologically through the given extract. So when you answer this question, you need to go through the text in a chronological order. That's super important, okay? The issue is sometimes students, they don't look at it chronologically and they just start looking randomly, and that's why they struggle with this first question. And what I would say, personally, when answering this question, use cancelling out. There's certain statements here you know that are definitely wrong. So for example, C and F, I know that they are definitely wrong. However, A is a possible answer. I'll put a question mark. B is a possible answer. You see, you can cancel out, and that will help you narrow down your options and get to the right answer. So that's question number 1. Moving on to number 2, it's the summary question. So it's always the same every single year. So both sources describe the similar ways nature can help people. Use details from both sources to write a summary of what you understand about the similar ways nature can help people. Now, bear in mind, it can be similarities or differences, and it's worth 8 marks. So let's have a look at the key points provided by the exam board and things you need to consider when answering this question. So first things first, hi Louis, what question is the summary? That is question number 2. The question focused on how nature can help people. It was a more abstract focus than some of the more recent tasks in question 2. But most students were able to extract this information and relevant ideas from the 2 texts. Weaker responses were characterized by paraphrase rather than interpretation. Many students struggle to make inferences about the way nature helps people, as well as to identify similarities between the 2 texts. So yes, you need to make sure you are providing good detailed inferences. Okay, that's super important. Many provided an account of the ways nature helps people with textual detail to support the response, but without any attempt to interpret the information and ideas. So that's where your inference skills comes in. So make sure you infer in thorough detail. Students should be reminded that in an English language exam, their own understanding of environmental issues needs to be grounded in the text, and they shouldn't be distracted by everything else they know about nature, which is extraneous to the text. Okay, so basically what they are saying here, use what is provided from the text to help you answer their question. Don't rely on background information or background knowledge, because that is not what will achieve the highest marks. Okay, so that's question number 2. Question number 3 is the language analysis question. How do you all find the language analysis question? Do you struggle with it? Let me know. So question 3 is always the same, to be fair. So this reads, you now need to refer only to source A from lines 10 to 20. How does the writer use language to describe his experience in London? Okay, keyword as usual is language. So remember, this question, by the way, just for your information, is worth 12 marks, okay, for paper 2. And remember, you are focusing on language. So what does language include, students? It includes things like words and phrases, okay, so your your adjectives, your verbs, your adverbs, your verbs, your nouns, etc. It includes your language techniques, so language techniques. Remember, these are areas for you to explore as well. And possibly the last one is your sentence forms. So these are some areas for you to explore when analyzing language. Sentence forms. Now, students awarded level 3 offered clear explanations, for example, of how the writer was disappointed by the response of the minister because his words shapeshifted. These typically commented on how the image of shapeshifting creates an effect of the words transforming into something other than what was intended. And some students commented on how the connotations of shapeshifters are linked to lies and deceit, and that this shows the minister was untrustworthy and his words were unreliable. It was the explanation of the link between the image and the effect that was crucial for achieving level 3. How and why has this particular word been chosen, and what effect does it create? So these, to those of you watching this right now, these are questions you need to answer in your exam on Thursday for language paper 2. So ask yourself, how and why has this particular word been chosen, and what effect does it create? Because if you can answer that, then you are well on your way to achieving the top marks for that question. So that's question number 3 covered. Just to give you a breakdown. Now, question number 4, we don't have, but these are some areas for you to look at and prepare for. So that is it for this video. I hope you have found this informative. And I have gone over the grade boundaries, things like that. In fact, let me just go back to that very quickly, just to show you. Again, it's based on evidence as well. These are rough grade boundaries for you to consider, depending on your target grade. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we have plenty more exciting videos on the way to help you all prepare for your exams and ultimately to make your education easy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share for more. Thank you.